The first time the aliens noticed humans, it was almost by accident. They were scanning the outer edges of a distant solar system, observing what they assumed were primitive species. Humans were on the very fringe of their attention, nothing more than small, fragile creatures living on a quiet blue planet. From a distance they appeared ordinary, nothing remarkable, but then a small human ship, barely bigger than a transport drone in alien terms, entered an area that the aliens considered strictly restricted. It was not supposed to happen. The ship moved slowly but with confidence, as if it belonged there. The aliens watched curiously, expecting the humans to retreat at the first sign of danger. They did not. The vessel was strange. Its design was simple but effective. The aliens could not understand why the humans had chosen such a fragile-looking ship to cross a zone known for hostile phenomena. A warning was issued from the alien command, but the humans did not stop. Sensors picked up that the human crew was communicating constantly, but in a language the aliens could not decipher. It sounded chaotic, almost random, yet it was clearly organized. The humans were working together, solving problems on the fly and adapting to circumstances the aliens thought they controlled. For the first time, a sense of uncertainty crept into the alien observers. They were used to dealing with species that responded predictably. Patterns, logic, fear, and obedience were their tools. Humans seemed to have none of these limits. Even when the aliens projected warnings through communication channels, the humans did not retreat. Instead, they responded with actions that were bold and, frankly, reckless. One human maneuver, the aliens noted later, should have ended the ship in pieces, yet it worked perfectly. The humans navigated obstacles the aliens themselves would have considered deadly. The council aboard the alien mothership gathered to discuss the humans. It was unusual for them to consider any species a potential threat before a confrontation, but this was different. A senior officer who had studied the humans during previous indirect observations spoke up. "They are not like the others. They are unpredictable, adaptable, and fearless. If we engage them, we risk consequences we cannot foresee." The other council members were skeptical. They had faced countless species, some far more advanced than humans. They had conquered, studied, or eliminated those who opposed them. Humans, in their view, were insignificant. But the officer continued, citing examples from old intelligence logs. These logs contained accounts of human conflicts on their home planet. Wars, uprisings, and resistance movements were documented in detail. Humans, the officer explained, were relentless. They did not retreat easily, even when the odds were stacked against them. One council member questioned the relevance. "This is a species from a single planet. How can we compare them to the powers we deal with regularly?" The officer replied calmly, "It is not about size or technology. It is about persistence. Humans will fight, adapt, and recover in ways that defy prediction. They are dangerous not because they are strong, but because they will never give up." The discussion continued for hours, with the council debating whether to intercept the human vessel or let it continue. Some argued that humans were too weak to matter, that their appearance in restricted space was insignificant. Others, like the officer, urged caution. Their reports suggested that humans had survived catastrophes that wiped out entire civilizations on their own planet. They rebuilt, learned, and became stronger. This adaptability and resilience, the officer argued, made them unpredictable and potentially formidable. Meanwhile, the humans aboard their small vessel continued their journey. They were unaware that they were being observed so closely. They spoke to one another constantly, coordinating every movement, adjusting to environmental hazards, and solving technical issues as they arose. What the aliens saw as reckless improvisation, the humans considered routine problem-solving. To the aliens, it was astonishing. They had never witnessed a species that could improvise so effectively under pressure. The aliens tried subtle interventions first. They projected warnings, hoping to turn the humans back without confrontation. They even tested the vessel with minor obstacles, expecting the humans to fail. But the humans responded quickly, finding solutions that the aliens did not anticipate. Every attempt to predict their behavior failed. The humans adapted instantly, showing creativity, teamwork, and an unyielding determination. By the end of their first observation, the aliens were unsettled. They began documenting every detail, from the humans' communication style to their decision-making processes. Every action the humans took was studied and analyzed, but patterns remained elusive. The humans were too unpredictable, too resilient and too determined to fit into any model the aliens had. They could not understand why a species so small and fragile could move with such confidence in a domain controlled by far more powerful forces. The officer's warning echoed in the minds of the council members. Do not underestimate them. They do not understand fear the way we do. They do not retreat the way other species do. If you engage them, they will not let go. They will fight, adapt, and return again and again. You must treat them with extreme caution. This idea was hard for many to accept. After all, humans were barely a fraction of the size of their smallest starships, barely a fraction of the strength of other civilizations they had conquered. Yet the evidence was there. From their first encounter, humans had displayed qualities that made them extraordinary in ways that were not immediately measurable. Persistence, courage, ingenuity, and an unusual sense of loyalty to one another. It was all clear from the observations. For the humans, their journey continued without fear. They faced obstacles and threats that should have destroyed them, but each time they survived. They repaired what was broken, avoided what could kill them, and kept moving forward. They had no concept of alien caution, no knowledge that their simple courage and adaptability were rewriting the expectations of an entire species. They were human, and their instinct to survive and to fight for one another was natural, effortless. The aliens, meanwhile, grew increasingly wary. They realized that the humans' unpredictability was not a flaw. It was a strength. It was something no strategy could fully account for. They began to understand that humans were not just another species, they were an anomaly. One small ship piloted by fragile-looking humans had already forced the alien observers to question centuries of experience. By the time the first observation period ended, a clear message had formed among the aliens. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were not just persistent, they were relentless. They adapted, they endured, and they would not let go of anything they pursued. The council could not yet predict what humans were capable of. But one thing was certain. Any confrontation with them would not be simple, predictable, or quick. And so the aliens waited, cautious and wary, while humans continued their journey across the unknown. One simple voyage from a small, fragile ship had already changed the way an entire species thought about the universe. The humans were unaware of the impact they had made, but their courage, ingenuity, and determination had left an indelible mark. The warning would be passed down in alien history for generations. Do not attack the humans. They will never let you go. The aliens could not stop thinking about humans. Even after the first encounter, the images, movements, and actions of the small human crew replayed in their minds. They had never seen anything like it. Every time the humans acted, they did so with a mixture of courage, intelligence, and unpredictability that made the aliens question everything they knew about how life survived and thrived in the universe. What troubled the alien command the most was not that humans were strong or fast, it was that they were relentless. They did not understand fear in the way other species did. Even when threatened, they acted decisively and never froze. The Alien Council gathered again, this time to examine the intelligence gathered from their sensors and long-range observations. Screens lit up with images of humans repairing ships while under fire, coordinating complex maneuvers without centralized commands, and improvising solutions in moments that should have been impossible. One officer, who had grown uneasy during the first encounter, spoke with unusual emphasis. We must consider what we have seen. This species will not follow our expectations. If attacked, they will resist in ways we cannot anticipate. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. Other council members were skeptical, trying to rely on conventional metrics. We have seen stronger species fail, one said. These humans are small, fragile, and untested. What makes them special? The officer responded quietly but firmly. It is not size or strength. It is persistence and creativity. They survive and thrive where others fail. They learn from mistakes instantly. Their courage is not calculated, it is instinctual. If we attack, they will respond until we are exhausted, and even then they will find a way to continue. The council debated for hours. Some suggested sending warning messages or showing displays of force to intimidate the humans. Others thought it might be safe to monitor them from a distance, perhaps even ignoring the small vessel entirely. The officer who had warned them from the start shook his head. We cannot ignore them. Humans will take every chance we give them. They will grow stronger and more capable if we hesitate. And if we strike prematurely, we may awaken a fury we cannot control. Meanwhile, the humans continued their journey, unaware of the attention they had drawn. They faced environmental hazards that would have destroyed almost any other species. Meteors struck near their ship. Solar flares threatened critical systems, and navigation errors in unfamiliar regions could have been fatal. Yet with teamwork and ingenuity, they overcame each challenge. One of the most remarkable things the aliens noticed was that humans did not panic. Even when alarms blared or systems failed, they moved calmly, assessing problems and finding solutions without hesitation. It was not just their survival instincts that impressed the aliens. Humans had an unusual ability to work together. They communicated constantly, sharing observations and ideas, and trusted each other implicitly. Even when disagreements occurred, they resolved them quickly, and their focus always returned to the mission at hand. The aliens had never seen such cohesion. Most species fractured under pressure, but humans became stronger under it. Their unity in the face of danger was unlike anything the aliens had encountered. The aliens decided to conduct a small test. They created a minor hazard along the humans' path, something they assumed would slow them down. The expectation was that humans would either retreat or be delayed long enough to allow the aliens to decide their next move. To the aliens' surprise, the humans not only overcame the obstacle, but they did so in ways that showed ingenuity, far beyond what the aliens had predicted. They modified their equipment on the fly, altered navigation systems, and even found ways to use the hazard to their advantage. After this, the officer who had warned the council became even more insistent. They are learning faster than we can predict. Every challenge we create is an opportunity for them to improve. If we confront them directly, we will face a species that has already adapted to our tactics before we can implement them. The council members grew uneasy. The thought of a species that could improve in real time without hesitation and without fear was alarming. The humans themselves had no idea they were being studied. For them, survival was simple: respond to threats, adapt, and move forward. They did not think about strategy in terms of intimidation or deception. They simply did what was necessary. They patched systems, rerouted power, and coordinated movements as if these tasks were second nature. To the aliens, it seemed almost like instinct, but it was the result of their species' long history of survival on a dangerous planet. The Alien Council began to share old stories from their archives, tales of other species they had encountered. In every case, a species that seemed clever initially eventually fell when tested under pressure. Humans, the officer argued, were different. They had survived catastrophes on their own planet that would have destroyed far stronger species. Their societies had rebuilt repeatedly, their technology advanced quickly, and their ingenuity was unmatched. In other words, humans did not follow the normal rules. They were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was dangerous. As the humans approached an asteroid belt, the aliens intensified their observation. They expected to see mistakes, confusion, or hesitation. Instead, the humans navigated with a combination of speed and precision that was astonishing. They predicted gravitational pulls, adjusted for shifting debris, and coordinated movement with an almost uncanny accuracy. Even when minor collisions occurred, they adapted instantly, repairing what was damaged and continuing their mission. By now, the council was convinced that the humans were unlike any other species. The officer's warning had become a central part of the discussion. Humans do not yield. They do not give up. They will continue, regardless of obstacles, dangers, or even overwhelming odds. The aliens realized that conventional approaches, intimidation, blockade, or even direct confrontation, might not work. Humans would adapt, resist, and continue to push forward until they had achieved their goal or exhausted every option. The aliens began to see patterns in human behavior, but these patterns were difficult to interpret. Humans seemed to act irrationally at times, but every action had a purpose. They were guided by a combination of instinct, intelligence, and determination. The officer summarized it simply: "We cannot predict them, but we must respect them. They are not just another species. They are relentless, and if we engage them, they will never let go." Even the youngest officers on the alien ship began to feel uneasy. For the first time, they realized that intelligence alone might not be enough to control a situation. Humans were not merely clever. They were persistent, adaptable, and courageous. The thought of facing a species that did not surrender, did not fear, and could improvise in ways beyond prediction was unsettling. They began to understand that humans were not fragile. They were formidable in ways that the aliens could barely comprehend. Back on their small vessel, the humans continued their journey, unaware of the fear they had inspired. Every challenge they faced was met with determination. They patched, adjusted, calculated, and pressed forward. Even when alarms rang and systems failed, they did not panic. Their focus remained on the mission. Their unity kept them moving, and their determination made them unstoppable. The aliens could not ignore it any longer. The officer's warning had been proven right. Humans were different. They were resilient, fearless, and relentless. And the more the aliens observed, the more they realized that if conflict ever came, humans would not back down. They would fight, adapt, and persist until they achieved their goal, or until nothing was left to resist them. By the end of the observation period, the Alien Council had made a decision. They would not engage humans directly. They would continue to watch, to learn, and to prepare. The warning was clear and simple. Humans cannot be underestimated. Any attempt to attack them would trigger a response unlike any the aliens had faced before. Humans do not retreat, they do not surrender, and they never ever let go. And so the humans moved forward, unaware of the caution that had spread across an entire alien species. Their courage, ingenuity, and determination had already left a mark, a lasting impression that would shape the way these aliens thought about life, conflict, and survival forever. By the time the aliens decided to observe humans more closely, they had already started to realize something unsettling. Humans were not predictable in the way other species were. Every attempt to anticipate their actions ended in surprise. Every strategy the aliens devised to control or intimidate them was met with solutions they could not have foreseen. It was becoming clear that humans were not just surviving, they were learning, adapting, and improving at a pace that made the aliens uneasy. To test them further, the aliens created small, controlled obstacles in the humans' path. Their plan was simple: see how the humans reacted under pressure, gauge their ability to adapt, and perhaps identify a weakness. They did not expect the humans to succeed, but from the very beginning they were wrong. The first obstacle was subtle. A minor interference in the humans' navigation system should have caused confusion and delay. Yet the humans approached it calmly. They noticed the small glitch almost immediately and began troubleshooting. One of them monitored the system while another adjusted controls to compensate. They communicated continuously, passing instructions and observations with clarity and precision. The aliens observed, astonished, as the humans corrected the problem faster than the aliens had anticipated. Not only did they fix it, but they optimized the system, making it even better than before. Encouraged by this, the aliens introduced another test. They sent a small cluster of asteroids to drift into the humans' trajectory. The expectation was that the humans would be forced to retreat or face serious damage. But the humans adapted. They calculated the trajectories of the asteroids, predicted their movements, and coordinated a path that allowed them to slip through safely. The aliens watched in disbelief as the humans not only avoided danger, but also used the debris to shield themselves from a simulated energy pulse sent in their direction. Every move was precise, coordinated, and unexpected. The aliens realized that these humans were not reacting purely on instinct. They were thinking, analyzing, and innovating in real time. Unlike other species that relied on rigid protocols or predictable reactions, humans could improvise instantly. They could adjust their strategy mid-action without hesitation. It was not just skill, it was adaptability and courage combined in a way the aliens had never encountered before. The officer who had been warning the council all along spoke again. "We see it clearly now. They are learning from every encounter. Every challenge we place in their path does not slow them down. It makes them stronger. They are improving faster than we can anticipate. If we attempt to attack them directly, it will not be a simple engagement. It will be a battle we cannot control, and it may cost us more than we are willing to risk." The other council members began to pay closer attention. They reviewed the data from the sensors repeatedly. Time and again, humans had responded to threats with calmness, intelligence, and resourcefulness. Even when faced with situations that should have been catastrophic, humans acted decisively and overcame the problem. It was almost as if they thrived on challenges. In fact, the more pressure applied, the more capable and innovative the humans seemed to become. As the humans moved deeper into the territory, the aliens created more complex obstacles. A sudden gravitational anomaly was introduced in their path, followed by temporary communications disruptions. They expected hesitation or confusion, perhaps even retreat. But humans adapted. One of them noticed a shift in the readings and adjusted their trajectory immediately. Another modified the power distribution to maintain essential functions despite the disruption. Every move was a combination of quick thinking and teamwork, and nothing they tried seemed to slow the humans down. The aliens began documenting everything, trying to understand why humans were so different. They studied patterns of communication, coordination, and decision-making. Every observation confirmed the same truth. Humans were not limited by fear or expectation. They were willing to take risks, learn from mistakes, and persist no matter how dire the situation seemed. This combination of resilience, intelligence, and courage was unlike anything the aliens had faced. What worried them most was not simply human skill, but human determination. Unlike other species that might retreat when faced with overwhelming odds, humans pressed forward. They did not surrender when obstacles appeared. They did not wait for perfect conditions or a guaranteed path. They adapted and moved on. They improvised, adjusted, and kept progressing. It was a level of determination the aliens had never experienced in any other species. The officer's warnings became more urgent. We cannot underestimate them. They do not act like others. They do not fear like others. If we attack them, they will fight back in ways we cannot predict. They will persist until they achieve their goal or until we are completely exhausted. They will never let go. The council began to reconsider their approach. The idea of a controlled engagement was now dismissed. Humans were simply too unpredictable and resilient. Attempting to confront them directly could lead to disaster. The aliens began to see humans not just as a species to observe, but as a force of nature in their own right, relentless, adaptive, and courageous. Meanwhile, the humans themselves were unaware of how closely they were being watched. For them, survival was a matter of instinct, teamwork, and clear-headed thinking. They did not consider how their actions would appear to observers. They simply acted, assessed, and moved forward. Every repair, every adjustment, every decision was aimed at keeping their mission alive. It was ordinary behavior for them, but extraordinary from the aliens' perspective. Humans also showed a remarkable ability to learn from experience almost instantly. Every time they encountered a challenge, they analyzed it, corrected errors, and applied the knowledge immediately. Unlike other species who might struggle to adapt to unfamiliar situations, humans seemed to improve with every trial. They were quick learners, but more importantly, they were fearless learners. Even when failure could have catastrophic consequences, humans tried again, adjusted their approach, and continued moving forward. The aliens continued to test them, but each obstacle only reinforced the same lesson. Humans were persistent, adaptable, and resourceful beyond anything the aliens had anticipated. The officer's warning became a mantra within the council. Do not attack. They will not let go. Even the most skeptical council members began to recognize that underestimating humans could be a fatal mistake. One incident stood out during these observations. The aliens sent a simulated energy burst toward the human ship, expecting it to force retreat or damage. The humans, however, anticipated the threat. They adjusted shields, rerouted power, and altered course simultaneously. Not only did they survive, but they also used the energy burst to accelerate their progress through the area, turning what should have been a setback into an advantage. The aliens were astonished. Humans had turned danger into opportunity, and it seemed effortless. The council realized that humans had a combination of skills that no other species possessed: courage, intelligence, resourcefulness, adaptability, and unyielding determination. They could survive in situations that would destroy others. They could learn instantly from mistakes, and above all, they would not give up. From the humans' perspective, they were simply continuing their mission. They faced challenges as they came, worked together to solve problems, and moved forward without fear or hesitation. Their focus was survival and success, not impressing anyone or proving themselves. Yet the aliens were watching, analyzing, and increasingly fearful. Humans were proving, without knowing it, that they were not just capable, they were relentless. By the end of these tests, the Alien Council reached a clear understanding. Humans were extraordinary. Their persistence and adaptability meant that any engagement with them would be far more dangerous than expected. Humans did not follow predictable patterns. They did not fear threats. They learned quickly, adapted constantly, and would not let go once they committed to a course of action. The warning was repeated over and over throughout the alien ranks. Humans are not like other species. They are relentless. They adapt, improvise, and persist. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. And they will never ever let go. As the humans continued their journey, unaware of the warning their presence had triggered, the aliens could only watch and prepare. Humans had proven themselves again and again, demonstrating that intelligence alone did not define strength. It was courage, adaptability, persistence, and unity that made them formidable, and so humans pressed on, resilient and unyielding, while the aliens began to understand that they were observing something far greater than a small species on a quiet planet. They were witnessing a force that, once engaged, would not relent. Humans were extraordinary, and the lesson was clear. To challenge them would be to face a determination and persistence unlike anything the universe had seen. The humans had been traveling through deep space for weeks, facing challenges that would have crushed almost any other species. Every day brought new obstacles, unpredictable gravitational shifts, hostile environments, and strange anomalies that defied logic. But the humans moved forward, calm and deliberate. To the aliens observing from a distance, it was becoming almost frightening how composed and determined they were. Nothing seemed to shake them. Nothing seemed to slow them down, and nothing seemed to make them retreat. It was during one of these journeys that the first real test came. A vast unmapped asteroid field lay ahead, one so dense that even the alien ships themselves avoided it when possible. It was a trap the aliens had designed, a challenge meant to see how far the humans could be pushed. They expected hesitation, confusion, maybe even panic. Instead, the humans approached it like any other obstacle. They analyzed the paths, measured distances, calculated trajectories, and moved forward. Every decision was precise, every maneuver coordinated. To the aliens, it was almost unbelievable. The asteroid field was not the only challenge. Suddenly, a wave of energy pulses swept through the area, interfering with the human ship's navigation and power systems. Most species, under such circumstances, would have frozen or retreated, but the humans did neither. They divided tasks among themselves instinctively. One monitored the systems, identifying failures almost before they happened. Another adjusted energy flows to maintain critical functions, while another recalculated the trajectory in real time. Communication was constant but efficient, a symphony of coordination that left the aliens stunned. The aliens had studied countless species across the galaxy. They had seen advanced civilizations crumble under pressure. They had watched brilliant minds falter in fear, and they had witnessed unity break apart at the first sign of danger. Humans were different. They did not panic. They did not bicker unnecessarily. They adapted, improvised, and overcame. The aliens began to realize that humans' greatest strength was not technology, speed, or weaponry. It was their resilience and unity. As the humans navigated the asteroid field, one of the alien observers commented, almost in disbelief, "They are not afraid. They face danger head-on and they do not falter." The officer who had been warning the council all along nodded.
"It is more than fearlessness.
It is determination. They will not let go. They will continue, no matter the obstacles, no matter the threats. If we attack them, we will find ourselves facing a force we cannot control." Despite the danger, the humans pressed on. They moved with a confidence that came not from recklessness but from preparation, knowledge, and trust in one another. Every adjustment, every recalculation, every decision seemed effortless, yet the aliens could see the intense focus behind every action. This combination of courage and intelligence was unlike anything they had observed before. Then came the first direct confrontation. The aliens, still skeptical of the humans' capabilities, decided to test them further. They sent a small fleet, armed with non-lethal but intimidating energy pulses, to intercept the human ship. The plan was to show force, to see if the humans would retreat or surrender. But the humans did not retreat. They did not panic. They faced the fleet head-on, using every resource available to maintain control of their ship. They calculated the enemy movements, predicted energy pulses, and maneuvered in ways that minimized risk while keeping their mission on course. The aliens were astonished. Even with the advantage of superior technology, the humans were able to evade attacks and respond creatively to threats. It was not just skill that impressed the aliens, it was persistence. The humans continued to move forward, refusing to yield, refusing to be intimidated. Even when faced with overwhelming odds, they adapted instantly, finding solutions that seemed impossible. The aliens realized that humans did not just survive, they thrived under pressure. The officer continued to warn the council. You see it clearly now. They are fearless, yes, but more importantly, they are relentless. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They adapt, improvise, and persist. Any engagement with them will be dangerous because they will never let go. They will fight and they will find a way, no matter what we do. The council began to take the warning seriously. They reviewed all previous encounters, analyzing every human action. Patterns emerged, but they were not predictable in the traditional sense. Humans learned from each experience, applied knowledge immediately, and improved continuously. They were not just reacting, they were evolving in real time. For the aliens, it was a revelation. They had never faced a species that could adapt and persist so effectively. Back on their ship, the humans were unaware of the fear they had inspired. For them, the journey was simply part of their mission. Obstacles were met with focus and problem-solving. Threats were countered with intelligence and coordination. Challenges were opportunities to apply knowledge and skill. They did not think of themselves as extraordinary. They were simply doing what was necessary to survive and succeed. The confrontation with the alien fleet became a defining moment. The humans did not retreat and they did not panic. They responded strategically, using every available resource. They calculated risks, mitigated dangers, and maintained their course. To the aliens, it was astonishing. These humans, small and fragile by comparison, had faced a superior force and emerged unshaken, not because of luck but because of skill, courage, and relentless determination. The aliens documented everything. They noted human ingenuity, adaptability, and bravery. They watched as humans turned obstacles into advantages, as they solved problems that seemed impossible, and as they pressed forward when any other species would have faltered. The council began to understand that humans were not merely surviving, they were demonstrating an extraordinary combination of traits that made them formidable beyond any measure of technology or firepower. The officer's warning had never been more relevant. They are not like other species. They do not follow predictable patterns. They do not fear threats. They adapt instantly, improvise constantly, and persist relentlessly. Any attempt to control or attack them will fail, because they do not surrender, they do not retreat, and they will never let go. The council agreed. Humans were no longer considered just another species to observe. They were a force of nature. Their courage, intelligence, and determination made them unpredictable and formidable. Even superior technology could not guarantee success against them. The aliens realized that underestimating humans could be catastrophic. Meanwhile, the humans continued their journey, unaware of the attention they had drawn. Every challenge they faced was met with focus, teamwork, and ingenuity. They repaired systems, navigated hazards, and adapted to every unexpected event. They worked as a cohesive unit, trusting one another and moving forward without hesitation. Their persistence was natural, effortless, and unrelenting. As the alien fleet withdrew, the council reflected on what they had learned. Humans were different from any species they had encountered. They were resilient, fearless, and relentless. They adapted faster than the aliens could predict, solved problems with creativity, and pressed forward under pressure when any other species would have retreated. They were small, yet their determination made them enormous in impact. The aliens realized a simple truth: humans would never let go. Once they committed to a goal, no force in the galaxy could easily stop them. Their courage, unity, and adaptability made them unstoppable in ways the aliens could not fully comprehend. The warning was clear: humans are not to be underestimated. They are relentless, and any attempt to challenge them would be met with determination, unlike anything the universe had seen. And so, the humans moved forward unaware of the fear they had inspired, continuing their mission with focus and unity. The aliens, meanwhile, documented their every action, recognizing that these humans, small and seemingly fragile, were unlike any species they had encountered. They were extraordinary, and the lesson was clear. Humans would not surrender, they would not retreat, and they would never, ever let go. After the confrontation, the aliens found themselves in a state of unease they had never experienced before. The humans had faced their forces directly, had not hesitated, and had continued their mission without fear or pause. This was not a species that could be intimidated or controlled through displays of force. The council reviewed every report, every observation, and every recorded maneuver of the humans, trying to understand what made them so different. What they discovered disturbed them. Humans were not only capable, they were relentless. The more the aliens studied humans, the more they realized that they could not approach them like any other species. Traditional methods, threats, intimidation, overwhelming firepower, had no effect. Humans did not respond as other species did. They did not panic when faced with danger. They did not retreat when faced with overwhelming odds. They adapted. They improvised. They continued to push forward no matter what. In short, humans were persistent in a way that defied conventional understanding. The alien officer who had warned the council all along spoke again, his voice firm. This is a species that learns from every encounter. Every challenge we place before them strengthens them. Every attempt to intimidate them teaches them how to adapt and survive. If we engage them directly, we are entering a situation we cannot control. They will not retreat. They will not surrender. They will not give up. And they will not let go. The council members were beginning to take this seriously. For centuries, they had dealt with civilizations that seemed clever, only to break under pressure or succumb to fear. Humans were different. They had survived catastrophes on their home planet, rebuilt societies from ruins, and thrived despite overwhelming odds. Their resilience was not theoretical. It was observable in real time. Even under stress, humans remained focused, calm, and cooperative. They solved problems as they arose without hesitation, and they never allowed fear to dictate their actions. The aliens decided to step back and reconsider their approach. Rather than confrontation, observation became their primary strategy. They studied human decision-making, noting how quickly they adapted to environmental changes, technical failures, and unexpected hazards. Humans did not need perfect conditions to succeed. They created solutions from what was available, improvising when necessary. They were not just surviving, they were innovating under pressure. Humans faced new challenges constantly, but they faced them with the same determination that had guided them from the beginning. Their mission required precision, problem-solving, and persistence. Every obstacle, whether a natural hazard or a technical failure, was met with collective effort. They worked together seamlessly, trusting one another implicitly. Even when things went wrong, humans adapted quickly, patched systems, and continued forward. The aliens began to understand that humans were defined by a combination of courage, intelligence, and an unyielding drive to persist. The officer emphasized this point to the council. Look at what they are doing. They are small, fragile, and technologically limited compared to us, yet they continue despite everything we can throw at them. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity. They are fearless in a way that no other species has ever been. If we attempt to fight them, we will face a species that simply will not give up. They will adapt, they will innovate, and they will continue to pursue their goal until nothing can stop them. The council began to discuss the implications of this persistence. Humans did not fight for glory or conquest. They fought for survival, for their mission, for one another. Their resilience was driven not by ambition alone, but by a sense of purpose that united them. They acted with precision. They made mistakes and corrected them instantly, and they never allowed doubt or fear to hold them back. This combination of courage and unity was something the aliens had never encountered. From the humans' perspective, none of this was conscious heroism. They were simply continuing their mission, facing obstacles as they appeared and making decisions based on knowledge, instinct, and cooperation. Yet every action they took demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for problem-solving and adaptation. Even when the alien fleet attempted subtle interventions to slow them down, the humans responded not with fear, but with ingenuity. They found solutions that the aliens had never considered and pressed forward as if nothing had occurred. The aliens began to realize that humans' greatest strength was not their ships or weapons, but their ability to persist. Their determination allowed them to survive situations that would have destroyed any other species. They learned instantly from mistakes, adapted to threats in real time, and never allowed fear or failure to stop them. Every attempt to predict human behavior had failed. Every expectation had been subverted. Humans were not just another species. They were an unpredictable, relentless force. The officer warned again, "Do not engage them directly. They will not surrender. They will not retreat. They will persist. And they will never let go. If we attack, the consequences could be catastrophic. They will adapt to every tactic, learn from every attack, and continue forward until they have achieved their goal, or until nothing stands in their way." Even the most skeptical council members began to understand the gravity of the situation. Humans were not merely clever, they were capable of enduring pressure and adapting in ways that made them effectively unstoppable. They were resilient, fearless, and united. They were relentless in pursuit of their objectives, and nothing the aliens had tried had slowed them down. Meanwhile, the humans continued their mission. Every challenge was met with the same calm determination that had defined them from the start. They repaired equipment, recalibrated systems, navigated hazards, and communicated constantly, ensuring that every action was coordinated. Every problem became an opportunity to apply knowledge, every threat an opportunity to adapt. They were not heroes in the conventional sense, they were simply humans, doing what humans did best, surviving, learning, and persisting. The aliens watched, documenting every action. They began to appreciate the uniqueness of human resilience. Unlike other species, humans did not rely on sheer power or advanced technology to succeed. Their greatest advantage was their mind, their unity, and their determination to continue despite danger, uncertainty, and obstacles. They adapted quickly, learned from mistakes, and acted with courage and intelligence. No strategy the aliens devised could anticipate or control them. The Council realized that humans were not just a species. They were a force of nature. Their persistence and adaptability meant that any engagement with them could not be predicted or controlled. They would continue no matter the challenges, no matter the dangers, and no matter how impossible the situation seemed. The aliens had never faced a species like this before, and the officer's warning became the guiding principle. Humans will not surrender, they will not retreat, and they will never let go. Even as the humans progressed, unaware of the profound impact they were having on the aliens, their actions reinforced the lesson. Every obstacle they overcame, every problem they solved, every challenge they faced only made them stronger and more capable. They were relentless, persistent, and adaptable. They were courageous, intelligent, and united. And above all, they refused to give up. The aliens understood that underestimating humans would be a grave mistake. They had observed countless species, many of them technologically superior, crumble under pressure or fail to adapt. Humans were different. They faced danger without hesitation, learned from every setback, and persisted in pursuit of their objectives. The aliens had come to a clear conclusion. Humans could not be controlled, intimidated, or defeated easily. Their persistence made them unstoppable in ways that were almost impossible to comprehend. By the end of this observation period, the Alien Council had made a historic decision. Direct confrontation with humans would be avoided at all costs. Humans were not just survivors, they were relentless. They adapted, improvised, and pressed forward under pressure when any other species would have faltered. The officer's warning became a universal command: do not attack the humans. They will not surrender, they will not retreat, and they will never let go. And so, the humans moved forward, continuing their mission with focus, unity, and determination. They faced every challenge as it came, solved every problem with intelligence and cooperation, and pressed on without fear or hesitation. To the aliens, their actions became a legend, a record of extraordinary persistence and courage. Humans were not just capable, they were relentless, unstoppable, and unforgettable. By the time the humans reached the outer edges of the sector the aliens controlled, the Council had come to a unanimous decision. They would not engage humans directly. The encounter so far had revealed a species that was unlike anything the aliens had faced before. Small in size, yes, but enormous in determination and courage. Every test, every obstacle, and every confrontation had proven the same truth. Humans were relentless. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They adapted. They improvised, and above all, they never, ever let go. The aliens watched as the humans continued their journey, moving through hazards that would have destroyed almost any other species. They navigated asteroid fields, recalibrated their systems after sudden technical failures, and adjusted to unpredictable energy fluctuations with calm precision. Every obstacle the aliens had expected to slow them down, or even stop them, had instead become a demonstration of human ingenuity. The humans faced danger without hesitation, and every decision they made was informed by instinct, knowledge, and teamwork. In the alien command chamber, officers reviewed countless recordings of human actions. Even the most skeptical among them admitted that the humans had defied expectations at every turn. "They are unlike any species we have encountered," one officer said quietly. "They continue when all others would fall. They adapt instantly. They fight without fear, and they never let go." The officer who had been warning the council all along nodded in agreement. "Exactly. That is why we must not attack them. Any attempt to do so would be catastrophic. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. They persist until nothing remains to stop them." Humans, unaware of the impact they were having, continued their mission with focus and determination. They faced challenges as part of the journey, solving problems and adapting to new situations instinctively. A system failure on the ship became a simple task: assess the damage, repair what can be fixed, improvise for what cannot, and keep moving forward. An unexpected burst of radiation forced them to adjust their course, recalibrate shields, and reroute power, all while keeping communication constant and precise. Every action reinforced the aliens' growing realization that humans were extraordinary. The aliens were particularly struck by the humans' unity. Unlike other species who often fractured under stress or confusion, humans maintained cohesion and trust even in the most dangerous situations. Decisions were shared, tasks divided efficiently, and problems solved collaboratively. Humans relied on each other instinctively, combining their skills in ways that maximized effectiveness and minimized error. This coordination, combined with their fearlessness and adaptability, made them an unprecedented force in the eyes of the aliens. One alien officer, reviewing yet another set of recordings, commented, "They are not the strongest or the fastest. Their technology is simple compared to ours, yet they succeed where others would fail. Why?" The senior officer, who had studied humans for decades, replied, "It is not technology. It is persistence, courage, unity, and the refusal to give up. They learn from every mistake, adapt immediately, and continue. That is what makes them unstoppable." The aliens began to understand that their initial assumptions about humans had been wrong. They had expected a small, fragile species to be easily intimidated or defeated. Instead, humans had displayed a combination of traits that no other species possessed. Their courage was instinctive, not calculated. Their intelligence allowed them to improvise and adapt on the fly. Their unity made them resilient, even when facing extreme danger. And their persistence ensured that they would continue until they achieved their objectives. No matter how challenging the circumstances, humans continued their journey, navigating through uncharted regions of space, overcoming hazards and solving problems as they arose. They did not pause to consider how impressive they appeared to observers. For them, every action was part of the mission, every challenge simply another obstacle to overcome. Their focus never wavered, and their determination never faltered. Even in situations that would have overwhelmed other species, humans pressed on, turning potential disaster into opportunity. The Alien Council realized that humans were not just resilient, they were effectively unstoppable once they committed to a course of action. Every attempt to anticipate their behavior had failed. Every obstacle introduced by the aliens had been overcome with ingenuity and courage. The humans' ability to adapt in real time, combined with their determination, made them unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. Their persistence was a force in itself, a quality that no technology or strategy could easily counter. The officer's warning became the guiding principle for all alien operations in human space. Do not attack them. Do not attempt to control them. They will adapt, they will persist, and they will never let go. We have never faced a species like this. To challenge them directly is to invite disaster. The council agreed. Humans were no longer considered just another species. They were recognized as an extraordinary force whose determination alone could shape outcomes across the galaxy. From the humans' perspective, their journey continued in the same deliberate, focused way it always had. They faced dangers without fear, repaired their ship when it malfunctioned, navigated hazards expertly, and maintained constant communication and coordination. Every obstacle became an opportunity to demonstrate their ingenuity and persistence. Their unity, courage, and adaptability allowed them to continue forward when other species would have given up. They did not consider themselves extraordinary. They were simply doing what humans do best: surviving, learning, and moving forward no matter the odds. The aliens, watching and recording, could not help but be impressed. Every challenge that humans overcame, every problem they solved, reinforced the lesson the officer had been emphasizing all along. Humans are not to be underestimated. Their persistence, adaptability, and courage made them a species unlike any other. Their ability to continue, even under extreme pressure, proved that they could not be defeated easily. They were relentless in a way that defied prediction. As the humans continued, the alien fleet withdrew, giving them space to move freely. The Council documented their actions thoroughly, creating records that would be studied for generations. Humans had taught the aliens a lesson that could not be ignored. Determination, courage, and unity could be as powerful as any weapon or technology. The aliens had underestimated humans initially, but they had learned quickly. Humans were not fragile. They were formidable. They were relentless, and they would never, ever let go. The humans finally reached the edge of the territory and continued onward into unexplored space, facing new challenges and adapting as always. They moved with focus and determination, overcoming obstacles, solving problems, and demonstrating the persistence that had defined them from the beginning. To the aliens, their journey became legendary, a story of courage, adaptability, and relentless determination that would be remembered for generations. The final lesson was clear. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were extraordinary. They could survive, adapt, and persist in situations that would destroy others. They faced danger with courage, worked together with unity, and continued forward without hesitation. And no matter what challenges they faced, they would never give up. They would never surrender. They would never retreat. They would never, ever let go. And so humans moved forward, unaware of the profound impact they had on the aliens. Their actions had reshaped the aliens' understanding of life, courage, and persistence. They had proven, without words or intent, that determination and unity could overcome even the most formidable challenges. Humans were remarkable not because of their strength or technology, but because of their spirit. The aliens had learned a lesson they would never forget. To challenge humans was to face a force that would persist beyond expectation, a force that would never yield, and a force that would never let go.